What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fireside. We are unfortunately here after Shohei Ohtani just lost his no hitter, but with better news, we're here after the Padres swept the Reds. So it was definitely not exactly an exciting series just because we knew what to expect. Sorry, I forgot to plug in my mic. I'm gonna plug it in right now, but we kind of knew what to expect. We should have known that we were gonna sweep the Reds, and quite frankly, I mean, this is a completely different team that we saw from last year, in my opinion, right now, because I think last year we might have dropped at least one to the Reds because this team, let's be real with ourselves, quite frankly, struggled against other teams that were 500 or below. We were 500 against, such as the Rockies. We were 500, or I'm sorry, under 500 against teams such as the Rockies. Barely won more games than the Diamondbacks did against us. So really enlightening to see that we're beating teams that we should be beating, especially after, two pretty tough series against the Braves. And I forgot the other team, sorry, but yeah, we've had some pretty tough games, and now we got the Dodgers coming up, and after that the schedule really lightens up. So let me know what you guys thought of this past series. Who were you guys most impressed by? I think that there is, quite frankly, an obvious answer. I was definitely impressed by Manny Machado. Um, Throughout the whole homestand, he batted around 500, if not 500 on the dot. And quite frankly, he's the most valuable player in baseball right now. He's put up the highest WAR, and I know a lot of people would argue for, maybe like Nolan Arenado, but quite frankly, if you look at the stats, Manny Machado is the most valuable player right now. Um, we've been saying we think he's the best, if not top two third baseman in baseball, right ahead of Nolan Arenado. We kind of had Jose Ramirez ahead of him just because Jose Ramirez had himself a fantastic year last year. But let me know what you guys think. Who impressed you guys? I think another one would be Jerks and Profar, right? For sure. I'm wondering why my comments aren't popping up, but I see this comment from Eureka. Let's go. First sweep of the season, Profar and Kim homies. Gore looks solid today as well. First one for him. Yeah, let's talk about Mackenzie Gore. I think his last outing against the Braves, his first outing, I was there and I thought, man, he's throwing a lot of fastballs. And I come home and I see that he threw 77% of his pitches were fastballs. So it was really enlightening to see how good his curveball was. He was implementing his curveball a lot more than last outing while the fastball was still live, changing velocity. That's what I really like about Gore so far, is that he's able to change his velocities, and it's on command. It's not like he's, not doing it on purpose. I think he's doing it on command, to where he's going from like 93 to 98. I think it's very deceiving for a hitter to see different velocities, for a pitcher to give that type of variety with his pitches. So, really good stuff from Gore today. I know he had one tough inning that he got out of, fortunately, where Profar threw a guy out at home, surprisingly. That's one of the biggest surprises of the season, I think. So, yeah, it was a good day for Mackenzie Gore for sure. Chase almost predicted the stat line, so props to Chase. As far as Profar and Kim go, Kim smoked that thing dead center. Really good to see, because I mean, we all know he had a lot of power in the KBO, and he hasn't shown it much so far throughout his time in the MLB. But I mean, there's been times where he's hit some nukes, so that was good to see. And then Profar, pretty sure he leads the team in home runs. Just like we said, right? What a surprise! But it's fun to see that Profar is having himself such an amazing season so far. I don't know if he'll keep it up, but it's very cool, because I think Profar was like one of our biggest worries going into the season for every Padre fan. And here he is, every time he's up to bat, he's the least of our worries now, because we're so confident in him so far throughout this season. So I don't know what he did over the offseason, but hopefully he keeps doing it every offseason. Machado MVP 1, Profar MVP 2. Yep. The results of the series is what was supposed to happen. The Reds were inferior and the sweep was in order, man. He's an all-star person. Yeah, so I said it before. I think it's very good to see that we're beating teams that we were supposed to beat. We're beating teams that we were supposed to beat. Last year, we weren't doing that enough. That was our biggest problem. That is ultimately why we didn't make the playoffs. If you look at teams like the Giants and the Dodgers last season, they handled business against all the teams they were supposed to beat. They smacked both of the Rockies and Diamondbacks pretty frequently every time they played them. Meanwhile, we were under 500 against the Rockies and barely hovering over 500 against the Diamondbacks. That is as much as people want to blame that second half collapse, if we would have won a couple more games against those two lowly teams, we would have been in the playoffs last year, despite that collapse. So it's good to see that now we're starting to beat teams, because or I mean inferior teams, because we're a lot better than what we were last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with Bob Melvin and how he's preparing this team for these games. Anybody want to talk about Tommy Pham? Everybody see what Tommy Pham said? He threatened to fight Luke Voit, and I thought it was very funny because Luke Voit is towering compared to Tommy Pham, and I thought it was very unnecessary. I thought it was a clean slide. Maybe as Padres fans we're a little biased, but it was a clean slide in my opinion. You saw the catcher was basically in the baseline. He threw himself in the baseline. I don't know what Tommy Pham, or not Tommy Pham, I don't know what Luke Voigt's supposed to do. I thought he did the right thing. It's not like he purposely meant to grab his head or anything like that. I think that's ridiculous if anybody thinks that. I think to a fan, that doesn't know much about the game in general, they will think it's a dirty play just because it looks like a WWE style type of thing. But to us, we know that this guy clearly ran or dove into the baseline where Luke Voit was running. I mean, he was running right for the plate. So nothing dirty in my opinion. It's just gonna look dirty because it looked like a WWE type of play. Like I said, possible new coaching is doing the job to bring out the talent on this team. Yeah, there's a lot of talent on this team that was quite frankly wasn't used last year because of an inferior manager who, quite frankly, we all knew he was going to be an inferior manager. There's no way I thought this guy was going to come in and take over, especially after not playing in the MLB, not having much prior experience in baseball other than a low position with the Rangers. But that was probably his boy, so we hired him. And I mean, to no surprise, it didn't work out. Now we got one of the top 5 managers in baseball, and he's certainly playing that part. Not only one of the top 5 managers, but you got a new pitching coach who's so far it looks like it's absolutely paying dividends with a top 5 rotation in baseball so far, giving you nothing but quality outings outside of a start from Nick Martinez and Yu Darvish. They've been fantastic. The bullpen has been fantastic. The whole pitching staff in general has just given this team so many opportunities to win. And quite frankly, they're quite outside of Manny and Profar, the main reason we are 9-9. We have 9 wins right now. So a lot of props to the pitching staff, man. They're super fun to watch right now. They work fast, they pump strikes, and they get a lot of soft contact. It's something we didn't really see last season. We saw a lot of guys go on the injured list. We saw a lot of disappointing outings from the likes of second half, Yu Darvish, first half, Blake Snell. The only consistent one was Joe Musgrove, and even then he had little stints where he was unsuccessful for consecutive periods of time. And right now it's really good to see that they're all consistent in their starts outside of Darvish and Martinez. Darvish, I think that outing was just like, he's pitching in the cold. He's in San Francisco where he generally doesn't do good. And here he comes back at home in good weather, beautiful San Diego, and pitches lights out against one of the most talented lineups in baseball. So, I mean, that's what we expect out of Yu Darvish. Yeah, I saw Baez today. He did pretty good. So did Morejon, and it's good to see that we're going to have 2 potential bullpen arms coming back in the near future. We need those bullpen arms because I don't think there's very many like high quality arms in our bullpen right now. And I mean, adding somebody like Morejon, and I'm probably the least optimistic about Baez, but someone like Baez who throws hard, that'll be very, very beneficial for our bullpen. Was anyone watching? I see Miggy 3K hits next inning, hopefully, but I also saw. Was anyone watching Shohei Ohtani's game? Me and my friends are talking about it right now, and as soon as we mentioned it, he lost his perfect game. So that kind of sucks. What else is there to talk about? What do you guys think of this upcoming Dodger series? Does anybody know who's going to fill in for Heaney? I think Andrew Heaney, he went on the injured list because of he had some shoulder soreness, something like that. And I know we were supposed to face nothing but lefties. In order, it was supposed to be Urias, Heaney, Kershaw. Heaney was having a fantastic start to the season. I think that's to everyone's surprise. He was honestly really, really good. So kind of good that we don't have to see him, especially because I feel like this lineup does better against righties. I think this lineup suited better against righties because Jake has been struggling so far this season in general. He's going to pick it up. Don't worry about that. But when you face righties, you can have both Kim and Abrams in your lineup. And I think this lineup is quite frankly better against righties. But hopefully a righty fills in for Heaney because that would help us out a bunch. I think on the bump for us, it's supposed to be Martinez, Darvish, Minaya. It's looking like that's how it's going to line up. So, Yu Darvish, for anyone who doesn't know, has fantastic numbers in his career against the Dodgers. I mean, outside of one outing against the Dodgers last year, quite frankly, he put up some really good numbers against them. So, I have a really good feeling about Yu Darvish against the Dodgers. Manaya's been great. Manaya's been fantastic. He's pitched in a bunch of high profile games, and he's going to continue to be fantastic. I think he's going to have a great outing against the Dodgers. Martinez. Is anybody else worried about Martinez? I'm kind of worried about him facing the Dodgers. I think he's a great number. He's a solid number 5. His stuff plays fantastic. But he was very successful against that Giants lineup. Looked great. And then goes to the Braves lineup and doesn't look the same. I think his pitches were there. It's just he tends to miss his spots. And when he misses significantly. He misses right down the middle. And that's where he's going to get punished against lineups like the Braves, whereas opposed to the Giants, he didn't get punished, but in future outings, if he does have to face that Giants team, he's going to get punished for it. So hopefully he's able to come around. And I mean, I think I'd take 3 runs from him, 3 earned runs, 5 or 6 innings. I think that'd be a solid outing for him just because I don't expect too much. But when this rotation, we're doing all this without Tatis, Clevenger, and Snell. When Snell and Clevenger come back, I don't know. Martinez is probably going to get kicked to the bullpen as a long reliever role, probably like a Nabil Chrismat Jr. or maybe a better version of Nabil Chrismat, because Snell and Clever are starters. They're penciled in as starters for sure. I mean, where does that leave Gore and Martinez? Gore has to stay on this roster somehow, especially after these past 2 outings where he's shown lots of flashes of being the Mackenzie Gore that we all thought he could be. And why would you send him down? He's done great in AAA. He's dominated too much in AAA to warrant sending him back down. Why are you going to send him back down? I mean, if you send him down to AAA, you're not doing anything for him. I really don't think you're helping him. I think you need to just give him major league innings from here on out. And in regards to Martinez, I think a bullpen role is perfect for him. So this rotation has a chance to be one of the best in baseball, really, like a top 5 rotation in baseball. And we said it before the season even started. We think this rotation is going to be a top 5 rotation in baseball. Injuries permitted. I mean, this is a pretty injury prone rotation. Unfortunately, Yu Darvish went down due to injury last season, and he pretty much pitched injured throughout the whole second half. The only one who wasn't injured throughout the season last year was Joe Musgrove. So, I mean, all this pitching depth is going to come in handy for sure. It's really good to see that we have so much pitching depth. Joshua Mears 2 home runs today, 5 for the season. Yeah, man. I mean, if you look at the 2025 projected lineup for the Padres, Joshua Mears is projected to be our future DH. His only problem is he strikes out a bunch. But when he figures that out, he's really going to be a solid DH for this Padres team. He hits for a lot of power, and hopefully we're able to get that out of him, by the time he's ready for the bigs. Yeah, but who disappointed you guys most this series? I think I'd have to go with I'm gonna check the stat line real quick before I say, because I just want to make sure. Let's see, because I honestly want to say Trent Grisham. I don't even know if he played. No, he didn't play. He got 1 at bat yesterday, but I mean, overall, Trent Grisham has been pretty disappointing. Croney has definitely been disappointing also for sure, but I mean, he puts together really good at bats. The difference between Cron and Grisham is that Grisham does not put together good at bats. Also, another disappointing, significantly like crazy disappointing, Luke Voit. That guy's approach sucks. I truly have not enjoyed watching Luke Voit up to this point. I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to be successful. And he said it himself. His performance in the Padres uniform so far has been horrible. It's been pathetic, is what he said. I'm not going to say pathetic, but he needs to do better. Really. Like, we traded for him expecting all these, a big surge in power from him. And we haven't gotten that. I think he legit has, other than Dansby Swanson, has a case to he might actually lead the league in strikeouts outside of Dansby Swanson. I don't know if he passed him. I know he's for sure top 3 in strikeouts or tied for it. But yes, I agree. It looks like he's trying too hard to hit a bomb. It doesn't really feel like he has a good approach at the plate. He goes up there, swings at the first 3 pitches, and then he gets sat down. So Luke Voit, I changed my answer. Luke Voit is absolutely my my most disappointing Padre after this series. As hard as it was to style Tyler Stevenson, yeah, it sure was. But we need more out of him. Especially because we keep plugging him into a cleanup or a 5th spot. He needs to provide some power. He needs to provide some contact to begin with. So hopefully he's able to figure that out. We need him to figure that out soon, especially with the big series coming up. Now it's only April, so a Dodgers Padres series in April is, naturally, of course, because it's our rivalry. We're gonna treat it a lot bigger than a normal April series, but it's important to remember it's an April series. I saw people saying that we should switch up the rotation so that way Nick Martinez isn't lined up against the Dodgers. But in my opinion, you just got to treat this like a typical April series because it's too early for us to start switching up the rotation. So that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people want to see probably like, Darvish, Mania, and Musgrove lined up or, something along those lines. But let's chill out. It's an April series. Let's treat it like any other one and hope for the best out of Martinez. I'm not too confident in Martinez, but hopefully he's able to go 5 or 6 with 3 earned runs, and I'll gladly take that from him, knowing Darvish and Mania are up next. Do I think Abrams will play against the Dodgers? Matt's here. Let me hold on.
How's it going, Isaac?
Going pretty good.
How we all doing? Feeling good after this
I don't
sweep?
know how much playing time. Absolutely. I don't know how much playing time Abrams is going to get in this series. That is because originally we had 3 lefties lined up to play against us in Urias, Heaney, and Kershaw. Naturally, Abrams doesn't play against lefties. We don't know who's going to fill in for him. I don't know if Gonsolin is already in the rotation or what it is, but hopefully it's a righty. If it's a righty, we are going to see Abrams in the Dodgers series. However, if it sets up to be nothing but lefties still, we might see him fill in when the bullpen arms start coming in, but I don't know how much Abrams I expect to see in this series, especially considering that is a very tough team, and he hasn't. I think most of his at-bats should come against lower level teams.
So we're for sure facing Urias and Kershaw, right?
For sure.
Okay, and then Saturday's the one that's up in the air for against Darvish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Martinez, Urias. I mean, the good thing is we've hit Urias, and Urias has kind of struggled early on. Maybe it was just the first start, but he got rocked. I think it was against the Rockies. Saturday, Darvish. I'm concerned about that one, not going to lie. Because it's like, which Darvish are you going to get? You're going to get Darvish painting the corners? Because if you get Darvish painting the corners, then, okay, you're in a good spot. But if you get Darvish where he's just hanging stuff, you're going to get killed. So I think that's the big question for that one. And then Sunday is what? Sean Manaea against Kershaw? I mean, Kershaw's nasty against the Padres, but I feel like we've been hitting against him better lately. And Sean Manaea has been absolutely insane. I started to – I didn't want to join too early, but I heard you talking about like the biggest disappointment in the series. I think Sean Manaea over the year has been the biggest surprise in like a positive way. And not like we didn't think he was good, but he's been so good. Like he's been way better than advertised. Fantastic. And he was advertised pretty high.
Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, going back to this Dodgers series, I think I'm pretty confident in Darvish. I mean, if you look at we were talking about it, if you look back at his career numbers against the Dodgers, they're very good. I'm kind of thinking, he went into that San Fran series where it was mega cold, the wind blowing against him, and he typically doesn't do good in Oracle. So he had a really, really good bounce back against a really, really good lineup. So, I mean, whenever Darvish is on, you're going to get a really good outing out of him, and that's what we got last time. I'm expecting it again. Hopefully 2 earned runs max. I think him and I are going to give us 2 great chances to win for sure. I mean, it's just up to the lineup to produce some runs. And over these past couple games, they absolutely did that. It was a perfect series for us. It was a perfect time to play the Reds right before we play the Dodgers because this offense is maybe not this offense. Maybe it's just Machado and Profar, but they're heating up.
Yeah, it felt like they were. The only thing is like the pitching against the Reds is really bad. I want to see how they go against the high end pitchers. I also don't have a ton of like really high expectations for the lineup, so I don't know. I feel like if they don't like ball out right now, it's not the end of the world. I feel like some people think that, but my mindset is if they can start out hot, they're going to be in position that forces them to go make a move at the deadline to acquire another bat, and you have Fernando coming back. So then you're going to see a lot of improvements to the lineup. I think that has to happen, and it might not be a major improvement, but if Myers, Grisham, those guys continue to slump, they're going to replace them. Like I really do believe that. It doesn't mean like they're completely done with those guys. Well, Myers, yeah, they would be. But like Grisham doesn't mean like they're completely done. But I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Grisham to try to upgrade at center field. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to struggle. So I think that can end up happening, but I don't know. And I see people asking about who we should send down. The only guys that I know, I feel really confident that'll get sit down are Matt Beatty and Pedro Avila. But outside of that, I'm not quite sure. CJ could get sent down. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah. CJ is definitely a candidate to get sent down just because it's not like we don't want him up here. Like he's got the talent to be up here. It's just he's not showing it so far. He might need some more grooming down in AA, AAA, whatever it is. Remember, he didn't play many games coming up to his first MLB start. He didn't play many games in the minor leagues because he was injured for quite a while. So he might need a little bit more grooming. I think Avila, yeah, I think you're right. Avila's probably the best bet to get sent down. And by then you will probably see Nick Martinez go to the bullpen. I think Gore stays in for a little longer and Martinez gets sent to the bullpen.
So you think, yeah, I think that makes sense. But I wouldn't want them to ever send like a guy like Nabil Stammen. Stammen would just get DFA'd. Yeah, that's what Brock said. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do that. But I will say this: if you have two long relievers that are Nick Martinez and Nabil Chrismat, those guys are both better than Stammen.
Yeah, and also you brought up Beatty. Beatty's making a damn good case as to why the Dodgers wanted to DFA him in the first place and why he might legit still be a DFA candidate. The only reason he's on the roster right now is because we don't have much outfield depth. So he's gotten his chances. He just hasn't. He's put up some pretty bad at bats. Whenever he gets a hold of it, it's still a pop out or a pop fly to the center fielder. That's Beatty's version of getting a hold of it.
No, yeah, it's true. I see Igor down here in the chat says he went to 2 games this series and he has season tickets. I really hope it's a good year to have season tickets. I think that'd be awesome. Because I saw some people talking about it and they were like, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if I want to keep my season tickets early on. I think it's way early to tell, but hopefully it is, something where the Padres make the playoffs this year and they make a run this year. Because I feel like so many people bought them. And it's so, like you were saying, when you've gone to the games, they've been absolutely packed, right?
Oh, yeah, dude, they've been crazy. I mean, remember, it was a record-breaking year in terms of season tickets for the Padres.
Yeah, so want to see a lot of people, have a great year watching the team. I think it'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. Devin asked thoughts on the Voit slide. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Did you think it was?
I already talked about it. It was clean. You could clearly see Stevenson going into the base path with his head right there. Like I said, it looked like a WWE style type play, but at the same time, like there was nothing Voit could do really. I mean, he's trying to make a play to be safe. It's not like he had any intent of hurting Stevenson. So I didn't think much of it. It was just an unfortunate play. I mean, Stevenson wasn't even mad at it.
Yeah, just Pham.
Yeah, just Pham.
Dude, I did not get it. Eric, I think Chase the Dreamer is coming on later. maybe he might make it. I don't know how long we're gonna go, but yeah. Dude, so what have you covered? What are some things you wanted to get to? I know I joined late. Or some guys that you haven't talked about yet that you wanted to.
Oh, shoot. I've talked about quite a bit. I talked about Machado. Been fantastic. Is the best player in baseball right now, if you're looking at from a number standpoint. Has the highest WAR in baseball. So, I mean, he's been fantastic. Batted 500 during this whole homestand. So, as advertised, Manny Machado is one of the best players in baseball. Who else did I talk about? Jerkson Profar. The best outfielder on the Padres, like we said, right? Like we said, the best outfielders on the best outfielder on the Padres. Nobody could have predicted that. Trent Grisham has been not the Trent Grisham we thought he would be. Been pretty abysmal, to say the least. At least at the plate. On the field's been fantastic. Who else did I talk about? I mean, those are the three guys I mainly talked about. No, I didn't talk about Hosmer or Devin.
Yeah.
That guy doesn't really run through my mind too much.
Dude, I will. Okay. If you didn't talk about Hosmer too much, I do got to bring this up. I legitimately feel like he looks a lot better at the plate. Like,
yeah.
And I don't think I've ever felt like that with his time in San Diego. Like, I get April Hosmer. I totally get that. But I feel like Hosmer just kind of starts the year hot, but his approach looks different. He looks like he's going, he looks like he's going like, I don't know, like deeper into at bats. I don't know. I have a lot more like faith when he comes up to the plate. I don't know if it's gonna last. I sure hope it does. But man, that would be a pleasant surprise because the three guys that are really like anchoring the lineup right now are Hosmer, Machado, and Profar. And those guys are kind of doing all of the heavy lifting. Like basically outside of them, there hasn't really been much offense. So I don't know, dude. I'm surprised. Do you think he looks that much better?
His approach at the plate is definitely a lot better. Devin just brought up his defense. I don't know if you've seen, but he's in the 99th percentile in terms of outs above average so far. So that's it's like a crazy difference for his defense. But in terms of offense, his approach at the plate is so much better so far this year than it has been in the past couple of years. You're starting to see he's starting to swing at his pitch a lot more than he used to. In past years with 2 strikes, it was almost a guarantee that the pitcher was going to throw an off speed down and in, and he was going to strike out. I haven't seen that yet this season. So it's been enlightening to see Hosmer have a better approach at the plate. The big problem is that he still hits a ton of ground balls. Even if they get through, they're still ground balls. They won't get through that often.
Well, he has what, like the second lowest fly ball rate in the league, I think, right? I believe so. So that part isn't different. But I do think the approach is different, and it's still a plus. It's not like Hosmer's a perfect player. But like throughout his entire career in San Diego, you haven't got anything out of him. So if you get something out of him, like I'm very happy if that's the case. Now, I don't know what that means for future years. I don't think it really changes the dynamic of that much, but it does. You are in a much better spot. I don't know, dude. I hope it's the case. I don't know how much faith I have, but I do feel like when I'm watching him, I'm like, okay, this guy actually looks significantly better than he has. Yeah, that's where I feel like I'm honest. And then Devin says his defense is a step up. I will say there was one play against the Braves where Machado made a great play, picks it up, throws it. It's a one hopper to Hos, put in a good spot. I don't know if Hosmer was late to the bag or what happened, but he was in a horrible spot and he didn't make the play. Outside of that, I can't think of another play that he like screwed up so far this year. But that one was bad because I believe that one would have ended the inning, and then they ended up scoring 3 runs after that. Like that was the one when Pierce Johnson was pitching. That one was rough, but outside of that, I can't think of a play where he screwed it up. So he definitely has looked better because it felt like we got a couple of those every week the last couple of years.
I was there for that era that you're talking about. You should have heard Petco. So disappointed. it was pretty funny though. It sucked because it was such an amazing play up until it wasn't anymore.
It just felt like he was late or something. That's what my thought was.
Yeah,
but
I don't even know what happened. I was on left field side, so I didn't have the best angle.
Talking about Lumet. We do talk about Lumet a lot, huh, Eric?
I feel like it's necessary because he went from being our best pitcher to reliever. And it's not like he's even our best reliever. He's looked meh.
He doesn't look like the same guy.
Yeah, he's looked meh. Like
he looks like a shell of himself.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the Lumet that we know. It's not a dominant reliever that we expected him to be. I'm not going to say he's cooked. I don't think he's cooked, but he's not the Lumet that we all once knew.
Yeah, and also like Chase loves Lumet. And Chase was hyping up Lumet before he was in the league. Like he was telling me, oh no. Because I remember like the thought on Lumet was like, oh, he could become a 4 or 5. That was what the general consensus was on him. And Chase was like, no, he could be an ace. He could be a number one in a good staff. And he was like so adamant that he could be like a star pitcher. And then we saw a small glimpse of it, and then his elbow blew out basically, and he just hasn't been the same. So it's frustrating. I think he's such like an interesting case that of course we end up bringing him up because it's like, oh, almost what could have been. It's like all of those guys. It's like D Rose in basketball. It's like that kind of thing. Not to the extent of D Rose. That's a lot different. But the idea of it.
Yeah, he will be affordable to re-sign. That is a plus, I guess. But man, it just sucks because he was so damn good, and seeing his downfall is not fun because I think as a fan base, he was one of our favorite players. Like, I think you go up to anyone and ask them who are your top 5 favorite players. Everyone would have said Dinelson Lumet, especially in 2020 when he was putting up Cy Young type numbers. He was in the competition for that 2020 Cy Young. But
yeah,
a shell of his former self for sure. Nothing looks the same. His control's not there. His velocity is still somewhat there, but movement, everything's gone out the window.
Gil says he doesn't mind him being ultra careful with Lumet considering his wipeout stuff. Lumet looked great today. What are you guys talking about? It's not like he doesn't look great sometimes. Like his slider still looks nasty, but
yeah,
it's just not like sometimes he just comes out, he just feels kind of flat. And he was so dominant before. I think that's the difference that I would say. It's not like he's not a good pitcher or anything. But we've always had really high expectations for Dinelson Lumet too. Like, exactly. And when the idea was like, oh, you can move him to the bullpen, like we thought he could become a closer, like somewhat quick. But it's not like, I don't know, it's not like we're like knocking him. Like I definitely really like Dinelson Lumet. I hope he continues to improve. I hope he gets better in the bullpen.
Yeah.
I do wonder how much he's gonna be able to pitch. I also wonder that as like a pitch count kind of guy. I know he doesn't technically have one, but it sometimes feels like they're not, like, I don't know, like they are being careful, like Gil's saying, but it is interesting. I don't know how long that's gonna last. Devin also says,
also worth noting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say also worth noting that literally everyone in the league outside of 2 games has had insane success against the Reds. They've won 2 games.
Yeah. Another guy in the bullpen, Steven Wilson. Devin says he likes him as the 7th inning guy. If he keeps the momentum, he can be an elite setup man down the road. He's been good. He's been a very, very good player. And he's a guy, 27-year-old rookie, but he's looked nasty when he's come in. Against the Giants, he had the 5 straight strikeouts. It feels like every single time his number's been called, he's been spectacular. Outside of like, I think it was the first series. I think it was the Diamondback series when he allowed a run. But outside of that, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he struck out, I think, half of his batters so far. Fantastic. Electric, for sure.
Yeah, do you think he could be a 7th inning guy?
Yeah, I think he's the type of pitcher that you can put in any role, to be honest, right now, especially with such a high strikeout rate so far. Right now, you can plug him in any role and feel confident plugging him in. I mean, a closer for him might be a little out of reach because it's just such a tough position to put a young player in. We saw what happened with Suarez, but I mean, right now, you could definitely have confidence in any role for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. What else we got? Jurickson Profar for NL MVP. Dude's raking. It feels like his game is a little different. It was so much like soft contact, foul off a bunch of pitches. I feel like he's not doing that even as much, but he's just trying to like absolutely destroy the baseball, and it's working out really well.
Yeah, he's hitting the ball hard right now. I mean, he said over the offseason that he was training with Fernando a lot. Clearly, it's paying dividends. He's got 4 home runs in 13 games right now. Last season, he had 4 home runs total. And, on a good day, I remember when he was being brought up, it was always comparisons of Jurickson Profar and Manny Machado. Clearly, we know who's won that battle between the top prospects. They're both on our team. But Jurickson Profar was said to be like a 20 home run guy. He's on pace for that. He's on pace to break that right now. I don't think it'll happen. I think he'll hit 18 to 20. So he's doing great right now, man. It's so good to see because we had the highest doubts on him over Grisham and Myers, and he's been outperforming both of them at a significant level, being one of the anchors to the Padres lineup.
Yeah, I think Steve brings this up too. Profar could only hit from the left side last season. Now he hits from both sides. We were talking about that. Like, why is he switch hitting if he's so awful from the right side? But then if you went back into his career numbers, which he ended up doing because someone commented about it, his right side numbers were a lot better. But last year he was horrible from the right side. So yeah, he definitely has been hitting from both sides. You've also been seeing him display power from both sides as well. So he's been awesome. He's been awesome so far. I've been really pleased with him. Here's a good one. Who's hitting more home runs, Cronenworth or Profar?
Crone. I think so. Here's the thing. A lot of people, I know they want to move Cronenworth down in the lineup. I know they're saying, hey, give him a break. Maybe you do give him a 1 day off, or well, they have a day off tomorrow. But the thing about one of your best hitters being in a slump is that the only way to get him out of a slump is you keep giving him at bats. You keep him in the heart of the lineup to keep giving him at bats and keep giving him opportunities to get out of that slump. Moving him down, I don't think that does him any justice. He was a 4 WAR player last year. He's one of the best second basemen in baseball, one of the best hitters in baseball, has one of the best approaches in baseball. You look at his approach, it's still the same as last year. Everything's the same as last year. It's just he's not hitting the ball very hard right now, and he's still going to be a great player. He's still going to produce at the plate this year. I think we just got to be a little more patient with him. We're 13 games in. There's nothing to worry about yet. But that question, I got to go with Crone.
I do wonder, I could see Profar hitting more.
Yeah.
I would probably rock with Cronenworth, but if Profar can keep up what he's been doing recently, then of course he's gonna come through with it. But I do think Cronenworth, when he gets hot, he'll start hitting a bunch of them. He usually hits in spurts. That's why I'm not super concerned about. I'm not really concerned about him at all. We're a few games into the year. His approach is the same. He's been struggling to make hard contact. He definitely has. But we look at it and we go, okay, he's been the same guy for 2020 to 2021. Not super long, but he was a great hitter in the minor leagues. That's what he's good at. His approach looks the same. He's not getting a lot of hard contact, but he's going to come around because he gets in these slumps often, and then he breaks out of them. It happened his rookie year. It happened last year a couple times. He'll get into slumps like this. Also, he almost has a 600 OPS, and he has hitting in the 170s right now. He's still getting on base. Yeah. He's not like a useless player. He's a great defender still. So it's not. I don't think we need to freak out about it. I do know that some people want to trade him because they feel like he doesn't have a position. We've talked about it in the past, but I don't think trading Cronenworth is smart right now, especially because he makes $500,000, and you have a roster, and your biggest issue is that you have guys making way too much money, and that's one guy that's actually cheap at their position. So I don't think it makes much sense to trade Cronenworth, but I do see where people are coming from. Also, we were talking about Profar a while ago. Shout out Kevin. He was the guy who brought it up. The switch hitting stuff that he had been good career wise. So shout out Kevin. Let's see who else. Profar's light version of Chris Taylor. That's some heavy praise, Eric. That is some heavy praise. Chris Taylor is nice, but what he's doing this year, yes, he could be, yeah. Profar is also. Steve also says Profar is also 10 pounds heavier. Maybe that's something to do with his power. I think maybe just training to kind of mold his game a little bit differently could be what we're seeing.
Yeah, everybody in baseball has kind of got to adapt to the new era of baseball where power is one of the biggest components, has to be one of the biggest components of your game. Yes, strikeouts are up a lot more than they used to be, but at the same time, I mean, hitting home runs is the quite frankly right now in this day and age, hitting home runs is one of the best ways to win a ball game. You could have I think at one point the Reds were out hitting us today, but because Jerks and Profar had a home run instead of just singles and doubles, that is why we won, because even if we had less hits at one point, we still had the lead. So everybody has to kind of adapt to the new era of baseball, start hitting for power. And this Padres team's doing that to an extent. I'm not going to say the whole team. It's just a couple guys, but good to see so far.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And hopefully guys kind of start turning around. Another guy that's been, I don't know, I think he's been looking pretty good is Nola. I like Nola from leadoff. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't necessarily like Nola from leadoff when Tatis comes back, because if you can get some people that can get on base at the bottom of the lineup, I like the idea of having Tatis lead off. He's so great when he does. It seems like the team plays better behind him. I think ideally you would want him to be your two-hitter, but why not start out the lineup Tatis Manny? Like, that's a way to start out a lineup right there. Maybe that's not the best one, but I feel like you can do so many different things, and I think if Tatis is at the top, it's pretty good. And also, though, I do like Nola at the top because I feel like he gets on base at such a high rate. So I'll see some people talking about CJ's base running. He took off on that one that was, the little bloop hit for the RBI.
I don't know how he got to second so fast. That's one of the few guys in baseball that I think, wow, he could do that. That's one of the few guys. I think Fernando could do it as well, but CJ did it, and I honestly wasn't too surprised because right now he is one of the fastest players in baseball.
I was just surprised how fast he was going through.
Yeah. I mean, he almost got slid off the bag.
Yeah. No, he definitely did. Yeah. I don't know. How concerned are you about CJ? I'm not too concerned. I feel like he's struggling a little bit. Like, he's clearly struggling, I feel like. But also, like, that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, he's jumped a lot through the minor leagues. He doesn't have many at bats. I definitely thought he could start out hotter, but once you look at a little bit, you're like, okay, I guess it makes sense, like, where he's at. It does add up. So I'm not super concerned.
He didn't get too many at bats in the minor leagues. It felt like he was brought up in a situation where it's not, he's super good and we need to bring him up right now. It was, Fernando Tatis went down and our top prospect just so happens to be a shortstop. So, and we need the kind of depth that he's going to provide us. So let's bring him up now because he's looked good in spring training and hopefully it translates to the MLB. MLB is I mean, the difference between spring training and the regular season is significant. Everybody's just working on stuff in spring training, working on their new pitches, working on their delivery, working on their location, whatever it is. But CJ's had a tough time so far, and there's nothing to be worried about. All his tools are going to translate eventually, but right now it's not translating, and that's okay. Don't be too worried. He's put together some decent at bats. There's some times where he goes up there and swings at pitches that are way outside of the zone, such as I think he struck out on a high fastball today that was way out of the zone, but still young. I think he's the first Padres player to be born in the 2000s, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think he is. So still super young, and he's still going to be a solid player in the future. But right now might not be his time. That's okay.
Yeah. I also do have to bring this up real quickly. I do feel the same way. We've talked about putting him in right field a lot. He looks so much better than Fernando did last year. I don't know if you feel that way. You played outfield. You know more about it. Do you think watching him, I feel like he plays it way more smooth.
Yeah, he's a fast kid. He's got a good arm. I mean, we said it multiple times. He translates great in the outfield. I really think his skills will transfer to the outfield perfectly. Now he doesn't have to be solidified in the outfield. He doesn't just have to be a right fielder. He's going to provide some positional versatility at shortstop, second, right field, whatever it is. But when Will Myers is injured or has a day off, you can count on him to go out there and provide you some solid defense out there. So it's just a matter of the bat, man. The bat has to come around, and I don't expect it to happen this soon, especially against a team like the Dodgers here coming up. But after that, you get a lot of easy series where he should be getting a lot more at bats in those series against the Marlins, the Guardians, those kind of teams, and that's where we might see him start to excel, and see him finally translate into the player we thought he was going to be. It would be early. Not everyone is Fernando Tatis where they come into the league and just, take it by storm. Not everyone can do that. CJ is going to take some time, and that's all right. We got to be patient.
Yeah, and I'm super pumped about CJ. If anyone follows our account on Twitter that's in here right now, I tweeted out something like, I bought a bunch of CJ baseball cards. Like, I think he's legit. So I have a lot of faith in him still. Not concerned about it. I think he's gonna be really good. So I'm pumped about him. A few more things. Ozakar impressions. I think we're gonna do a full segment on him. So we'll probably talk about him tomorrow, I think, or the day after. But have liked what I've seen a lot. That's why we're going to be doing that. So, but probably not going to get into that today just because that's going to be a lengthy topic soon. Not going to lie, I was waiting for a Kim home run and he finally delivered. Dude, he smoked that one today.
Yeah.
Absolutely demolished it.
Mm-hmm.
I know his numbers don't look that crazy, but I feel like he looks a lot better offensively.
It's a
just
massive
watching
difference.
how he plays.
Mm-hmm. It's a massive difference from last year to this year. I mean, he hit the home run today. That was smoke, dead center, 400 something feet. Brought in a couple RBIs against the Braves, and he's turning into a decent little hitter. And his defense is fantastic. His defense has always been fantastic, but we kind of said he has to provide some give this team something at the plate. He has to provide at the plate, and he's starting to do it more and more. And he's going to earn more playing time like that. His defense is so good, but it's just the only way you're going to get playing time is if you're able to provide at the plate, especially because this is not a lineup like the Braves where it's loaded from top to bottom. You can afford to have that one guy that doesn't hit very good. We're not like that. We need our guys to come through.
Yeah, no, totally agree. No way Will comes back after the season. I would be shocked. I would be so shocked.
So would I. I think he's gone.
What happened next week when Clev is back? Or roster's 26. We brought this up a little bit earlier. The two guys that at least I think are going to be off are Pedro Avila and Matt Beatty. Matt Beatty would be DFA'd. And we were kind of excited for Matt Beatty, but he's just struggled. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they're going to keep a roster spot for him. Just because you can't get rid of a bunch of pitching when that happens. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Clev has a guaranteed spot on this roster. He has a guaranteed right to get a couple starts. Brought him multiple times. That out of all the trades, you look at the trades for Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, even Manaea, the guy that came in with the highest career ERA was Mike Clevinger. Consistently was a top 10, top 15 pitcher in the league. And
do you mean lowest?
Yeah, lowest. Sorry.
Best? That's even the highest. No,
yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
Right. So he, he came in with the lowest ERA, and he deserves the spot. So whether that's going to be Martinez getting sent to the bullpen, somebody gets set down, I don't know what it's going to be, but he deserves it. And he was pumping 95. Martinez,
yeah, definitely. It's this weekend's Martinez, Darvish, Manaea.
Yep.
So we'll see how these guys pan out. Martinez has his work cut out for him, though.
Yep.
This is a tough one. I've been happy with Nick Martinez. I saw some people were kind of like concerned. Him stepping in as a starter for a while, probably going to the bullpen after. He's going to be a really valuable piece to this team, I think. And I think that he's going to be really good. Same with Gore. Gore looked fantastic. I don't know how much you talked about him. I didn't really get a chance to bring it up, but I didn't see much of him today. But the first game, he looked really good. The one thing I noticed was he wasn't really generating a lot of strikeouts. Guys were fouling his stuff off. Today, he strikes out 7 in 5 innings. So that's a big switch there. That's a real positive thing. But, I mean, I think what also the one thing that really stood out to me with Gore is it's not even like his pitches are like maxed out yet. It's just that his build, his frame, his delivery, you can just see why people struggle against him. And he hits his spots. He was in the first game, he was absolutely painting the corners. He was ridiculously good. Even when he was missing, most of the time he was barely missing with his fastball. This is barely missing, barely off the plate. And it was like, that was a good pitch. That was a hard take, like almost every single time. So I'm so pumped for Gore. Gore, I think Gore should get everyone super excited because this team doesn't have a lot of future pitching. Gore is that. Like, he is the heart of that. So him looking good means so much difference, not only this year, but for the next 5-10 years potentially for this team.
Yeah, we're hoping Weathers would be right there with Mackenzie Gore, but unfortunately he's strung together a couple of bad starts, and I mean, he might pan out. He might be the Brian Weathers that we thought he was going to be, especially coming off of the beginning of 2021 where he looked really good. I mean, he pitched against the Dodgers, pitched against the Diamondbacks, pitched against the Brewers. He looked good, and we just haven't seen the same amount of Weathers. Still really young, still has time to improve. Mackenzie Gore, though, mentioned it today. Fastball still looked really good. The biggest thing was he started to implement his curveball a lot more. His curveball looked really good today. That's how he was generating more strikeouts. implementing that curveball. So looked really good. Hopefully we're able to get some. I was hoping he would start. No, I wasn't. I don't want him to start against the Dodgers. I didn't want him to start against the Dodgers. That's too tough of an assignment. And of course he handled the Braves, but the Dodgers is still a monster that you want your top of the line pitchers to go against. So he's going to get a lot of easy series coming up, though. He's going to face teams like the Guardians, the Marlins, teams like that. So, I mean,
the Reds again. That's
the Reds again. Exactly. So he's going to get a lot of opportunity to, still work on his stuff against lowly teams like the Reds. Unfortunately, it is in the Great American Small Park, so you might see a fly ball turn into a home run off of him. But it looks really good so far. In 2 outings, has provided a 1.74 ERA and about 10 or 11 innings pitched, something like that. So really encouraging.
Yeah, 100%. I see some people in the chat talking about Morejon, Kevin Kopps. Morejon, yeah, we're pumped about Morejon. I mean, we think he can have a really big role in the bullpen as well. This team has a lot of guys that are not starters, but they're like long relief guys. Have you noticed that? Like way more than other teams. I think it can work out to your advantage a lot because for a lot, if you have a bunch of guys that can pitch multiple innings in the pen, after some of these starts, if you're blowing a team out or it's a lost game, you can put 2 guys in the bullpen. And then you only eat up 2 guys in your bullpen. And then the guys like Rogers, if Luis Garcia is a setup man, if Steven Wilson is a setup man, you can save them so much more where they don't have to pitch that often because 2 guys are coming in and able to hold down the bullpen. So I think that can be something that's really big too. So really important to bring them up. And yeah, Morejon, I see some people talking about, that guy any good with Gil with the eyes? Yeah, I know Gil likes him a lot. Morejon is nasty, man. I was so bummed that he's been out. But no, don't worry, Gil. I've seen your comments. I know you're a big Morejon guy. But it could be back midseason. Yeah, he should be back. He definitely will. It'd be crazy if you get Morejon and Pomeranz back. That's such a plus to the bullpen, and also Jose Castillo.
Yeah, Jose Castillo is throwing. I think he was throwing today, or he's going to throw tomorrow, something like that. So he's going to start throwing too. Morejon's such a big bolster to the bullpen, considering like we got Rogers that's a lefty, and we got Tim Hill that's a lefty, and that's it, right?
And then all 3 of those guys would be lefties. That'd be insane. Like you have 3 guys, they're just injured. That's the problem. But that's why Rogers is so big to add.
Oh, dude, if you have Pomeranz going in the 7th or the 8th, and you have Rogers after him, you're winning the game. Pomeranz is even if he's injured, and I know he got a lot of money and it is a bad contract, but when he's healthy, he's your best reliever. He's proven that time and time again. So when he comes back, fully expect him to continue the production that he's given us over the past couple seasons. It hasn't been much production in terms of innings, but in terms of the numbers, it's definitely been a lot. So when he comes back, setup man, whatever he's going to be fantastic. Morejon, he's not going to be a starter. I don't think his future has starter written over him, especially because when you don't want to give the guy too many innings. We've seen his arm, he's not a healthy guy, I guess I would say, but he's going to be an electric bullpen arm for sure.
Yeah, totally there with that. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's live stream though. We are going to do a preview episode, I think tomorrow. Going to talk about Ozakar later in the week. And maybe we'll talk about Gore a little bit, talk about these young guys. I'm not quite sure what our Saturday episode will be, but tomorrow we'll have a Dodgers Padres preview. And then on Friday, we'll talk about Jose Azocar, Trent Grisham, the outfield, kind of how it's going to play out. Because I think there's some interesting things that were going on there. And I think it's very intriguing that Azocar got back-to-back starts. So we'll talk about that a lot. Final thing I'm going to bring up, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to be doing a giveaway in our listener community. I will comment and pin the comment for that link right after we hop off. But if you guys want to be in, anyone that's in the room is eligible to win. So we're giving away 2 tickets to Dodgers Padres on Sunday. So Sean Manaya's game. And it's not exactly in the Crone Zone, but I mean, hopefully we get to see the Crone Zone this series. But it's like up a little bit. It's section 135 if you want to check it out. So if you guys are interested, if you guys are in the room, I can alert everyone through the app, and I'll alert everyone before we go on once or twice, and then we'll end up doing it then. So if you guys are interested, you can join that. But besides that, Isaac, anything else you want to add before we take off?
No, man, like Matt said, go join us on Airtime. We like communicating with you guys during the game. It's a lot of fun, especially in this Dodger series. We're going to try and communicate with you guys a lot because we know how much this series means to us Padre fans. So go join Airtime. Go give yourselves a chance to go to those Dodger games, man. I love going to those Dodger games. They're so much fun. I know it's a little, for whatever reason, it can be a little scary because we know how those Dodger fans can be, but there's no reason to be scared. A lot of fun. Those games are so much. The atmosphere is electric. So do whatever you got to do. Go join Airtime because you're going to give yourself a good time if you win.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Very, very happy that the Padres took care of business against the Reds, but that's going to do it. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.